There's a hidden danger. Most people never notice the slow, quiet loss of respect. It doesn't come with loud mistakes or public scandals. Instead, it creeps in through small habits and subtle behaviors that gradually drain your influence until one day people stop listening, stop caring, and most importantly, stop respecting you. Machiavelli, the master strategist of power, warned us that being hated is better than being ignored, because hate means you still matter. But being ignored, that means you've lost your edge, your presence, and your power. In this video, we'll uncover 8 sneaky ways you might be losing respect without even realizing it, and more importantly, how to stop it before it's too late. If you want to command any room you enter and ensure your voice is always heard, understanding these truths is essential. Let's dive in. Respect rarely disappears all at once. It doesn't vanish because of a single loud mistake or a public scandal. Instead, it slips away gradually, almost invisibly, through the everyday habits and small behaviors we don't even notice ourselves exhibiting. Machiavelli, a master of understanding power and influence, knew this well. He taught that respect isn't earned by grandiose displays or dramatic wins, but by the subtle signals we send through our presence, our words, and our actions. And sadly, many of us lose respect not because of what we do outright, but because of the little things we do without realizing their true impact. One of the quickest ways to lose respect is by talking more than doing. You might know someone who's constantly sharing their big plans, their visions for the future, or what they're about to accomplish. But when it comes to actually delivering results, there's very little to show. At first, such talk can inspire people. It can raise expectations and give hope. But if those promises keep piling up with no follow-through, people start to tune out. Machiavelli summed this up perfectly. The promise of power is not power itself. When you repeatedly announce your intentions but fail to turn them into reality, you become known as a dreamer instead of a doer. And in any circle, whether at work among friends or in leadership, being labeled a dreamer is often the quickest way to lose influence and respect. I've seen this happen firsthand. Once I worked with a team leader who was brilliant at painting grand visions, but terrible at execution. Early on, his energy and ideas excited everyone, including myself. But after a few missed deadlines and uncompleted projects, his credibility evaporated. What used to be enthusiasm became skepticism. His words, no matter how compelling, turned into background noise. The respect he had slowly slipped away because he promised more than he delivered. Another subtle way people lose respect is by over-explaining themselves. When you feel compelled to justify or clarify your decisions constantly, you reveal an underlying insecurity. It's almost as if you don't trust your own actions to stand on their own. Machiavelli never wasted his energy trying to explain himself. He let his results speak for him. When people misunderstood him, he remained calm and confident, knowing that time would prove him right. But when you jump in to correct every misunderstanding or try to fix every perception problem you're showing doubt both to others and, more importantly, to yourself. Think about a friend or colleague who, whenever questioned about something simple, launches into a long, convoluted explanation that only muddies the waters further. It's not confidence. It's a leak of authority and control. People don't respect someone who constantly justifies themselves. Instead, respect goes to the person who makes others question their assumptions, who speaks through action and presence, not through lengthy defenses. Many people assume that being likable and friendly automatically leads to respect. But that's a dangerous misconception. Laughing at every joke, nodding quickly to agree with others, or smiling constantly can actually make you seem submissive rather than commanding. If you find yourself laughing too easily, even at jokes that might be subtle digs, or leaning in too eagerly to connect, you risk appearing weak or eager for approval. Machiavelli understood that respect is born from controlled presence, not from constant emotional feedback or neediness. I remember attending a networking event where 2 people caught my attention. One person laughed and agreed with everything, eager to fit in and be liked by the group. The other person smiled rarely and only spoke when they had something valuable to add. By the end of the evening, the second person was the one who others sought out for serious conversations. The first faded into the background, having sacrificed respect for likability. Apologizing excessively is another way people inadvertently undermine themselves. Saying sorry when you're a few minutes late or apologizing for interrupting briefly might seem polite. But when this becomes habitual, it chips away at your subtle authority. Machiavelli would see constant apologies as a way of placing yourself beneath others, signaling submission. Powerful individuals apologize when necessary, acknowledge mistakes calmly, and then move forward without seeking comfort or validation. Excessive apologies quietly communicate that you view yourself as less important and invite others to take more from you. In contrast, a measured, firm presence that recognizes mistakes but doesn't dwell on them commands respect. It shows you're confident and in control. One of the most overlooked ways people lose respect is by rushing to fill silence. Most people hate silence and feel pressured to speak to smooth over tension with words or explanations. But this eagerness is a critical mistake. Machiavelli knew that whoever controls silence controls the room. When you hold silence confidently, you create mystery and dominance. People start to wonder what you're thinking and adjust their words and behavior around you. Consider meetings where the loudest person talks non-stop to avoid pauses. Instead of gaining control, they often reveal their need to be liked or to lead, which weakens their authority. The person who waits patiently, lets the silence linger, and then speaks with intention, is the one who truly commands attention. Another trap that quietly kills respect is reacting emotionally to small acts of disrespect. You don't need to raise your voice or fight back, but even the smallest emotional reactions, a sigh, a nervous laugh, or a smirk, betray vulnerability. Machiavelli said that anyone who can be baited emotionally is already controlled. The most respected and feared individuals are those who are immovable, unaffected by provocation, steady in their composure. For example, a famous CEO I follow responded to a harsh public critique with complete calm and silence, forcing critics to feel uncertain and unsettled. On the other hand, many people respond to criticism with defensive outbursts that only confirm their insecurity. Repeating yourself after being ignored is another way people erode respect without realizing it. Saying something not being heard and then repeating it louder or rephrasing in the hope it lands better is not persistence, it's public self-demotion. It shows desperation for attention instead of command. Machiavelli observed that power doesn't repeat itself. If your words don't land the first time you stop speaking and let silence become your weapon, that silence punishes, creates tension, and shifts how people perceive you. I've witnessed many managers fall into the trap of repeating instructions or arguments multiple times, losing their authority in the process. Those who say what matters clearly once and then wait for a response hold the real power. Finally, constantly seeking eye contact, nodding excessively, or looking for smiles signals low status and uncertainty. True power doesn't seek to be seen. It looks through, or not at all. When you withhold immediate reactions and don't chase validation, you reverse the dynamic. Suddenly, others seek your attention and approval. The person others want to be noticed by is the one who owns the room. By projecting self-possession and calm confidence rather than craving approval, you command respect effortlessly. In truth, respect is less about what you say and far more about the energy you project and the signals you send. These small behaviors, talking without delivering, overexplaining, seeking approval, overapologizing, rushing to fill, silence, reacting emotionally, repeating yourself, and craving validation slowly drain respect away, often without your knowledge. The good news is that once you recognize these subtle leaks, you can begin to fix them. Building respect means cultivating mystery, mastering emotional control, acting with quiet confidence, and delivering results silently. When you do that, people don't just listen to you. They can't help but respect you. Losing respect doesn't have to be the end of the road. While it's true that respect erodes slowly and quietly, the good news is, it can be rebuilt, though not by pleading or trying harder. The path to reclaiming respect requires a different mindset. One focused on strategic withdrawal, emotional control, and creating scarcity of presence. Machiavelli's teachings offer timeless wisdom on this, emphasizing that respect is less about being everywhere or liked by everyone, and more about commanding presence and mystery that people can't ignore. The first step in rebuilding respect is to learn the art of strategic withdrawal. Often when people realize they're losing influence, their instinct is to show up more, explain more, and engage more. But Machiavelli warns against this. Being too present, too accessible, or too eager makes you ordinary and easy to overlook. Think of a colleague who always replies instantly to every message, attends every meeting without exception, and overexplains every decision. Initially, this might seem like dedication, but over time it dilutes their perceived value. People stop appreciating their presence because it no longer feels rare or significant. True power lies in scarcity. When your time, your reactions, and your involvement become limited, they carry more weight. Imagine a CEO who suddenly stops attending every minor meeting and starts showing up only when it truly matters. The board members begin to notice. Their words carry more influence because their presence feels earned. This is the essence of strategic withdrawal, pulling back not out of anger or coldness, but with calm composure. It's about creating an aura that says, I am selective with my time, because my time is valuable. When your presence becomes a rare commodity, people recalibrate how they treat you with more respect and attention. But withdrawal alone isn't enough. Emotional control plays a critical role in commanding respect. It's not about suppressing feelings or becoming robotic, but about maintaining a steady, composed baseline, regardless of circumstances. Most people are emotional weather vanes, cheerful in some settings, defensive in others, angry in moments of stress. This predictability makes them easy to read and manipulate. Machiavelli understood this deeply. To be respected, you must be unreadable in your emotional state, consistently calm, composed, and deliberate. This doesn't mean never showing emotion, but rather choosing when and how to express it. For example, when someone disrespects you, the natural response might be irritation or defensiveness. However, showing visible emotional reactions, whether a sigh, a sarcastic smile, or a rushed comeback, only confirms that they have affected you. The truly powerful respond with calculated silence or a subtle, controlled gesture. This restraint unsettles others because it denies them the satisfaction of a reaction. I recall a famous story of a legendary leader who was publicly mocked during a debate. Instead of lashing out, he paused, looked calmly at his opponent, and changed the subject with a simple but decisive statement. The room fell silent, and from that moment his opponents treaded carefully around him. That is emotional mastery at work. Another essential practice to reclaim respect is learning to say no without over-explaining. Many people lose respect because they say yes too often to meetings they don't want to attend, to favors they don't want to do, or to conversations that drain their energy. Saying yes indiscriminately signals weakness and a lack of boundaries. It invites others to take more from you without hesitation. Machiavelli's advice was clear. Every yes must be earned through advantage. To rebuild respect, you must become comfortable with denying requests softly but firmly. Saying no without a lengthy explanation protects your time, your focus, and your authority. Initially, people might feel rejected or uncomfortable, but they soon learn to respect the boundaries you establish. When your no becomes credible, your yes becomes golden, rare, valuable, and meaningful. This dynamic shift changes how others perceive and interact with you. You become someone whose time and attention are not freely given, but carefully granted. Closely linked to this is the idea of avoiding overexposure. In today's hyper-connected world, it's tempting to always be present on social media, in group chats, at every event. But constant availability can make your presence feel ordinary, even annoying. Think about an influencer who posts multiple times a day about trivial matters. Initially, followers may be engaged, but over time, the constant flood of content can lead to fatigue and diminished interest. The same principle applies in real life. People lose respect for what's too familiar. Rebuilding respect requires you to be intentional about when and how you appear. When you do show up, you want your presence to feel significant, not just another face in the crowd. This scarcity makes people value your time and attention more. Mastering silence and stillness is another powerful tool. Instead of rushing to fill every quiet moment or awkward pause, learn to hold silence confidently. This creates tension and curiosity, forcing others to lean in and wonder what you're thinking. Silence wielded well is a form of power that commands attention without a single word. Imagine a room full of people nervously waiting for someone to speak. The person who finally breaks the silence with a few measured, impactful words instantly becomes the center of attention. That's the difference between someone who controls the room and someone who reacts to it. This control over silence also extends to how you manage your speech. Speak less, but with more weight. Avoid long-winded explanations or rambling stories. Instead, deliver conclusions, short, clear, and decisive statements that leave no room for doubt. A critical part of commanding respect is also learning to redirect rather than defend. When challenged or misunderstood, many people immediately go on the defensive, trying to explain themselves or argue their case. This reaction signals weakness. Instead, redirect the conversation by asking questions or letting silence work for you. If someone mocks you, ask them to repeat themselves slowly. If challenged, pause and calmly inquire what they mean. This shows control, curiosity, and detachment rather than agitation. The way you exit a situation also affects respect. People who overstay their welcome in conversations, meetings, or relationships dilute their presence. Machiavelli understood that leaving before you're asked to creates a lasting impression of control. The person who walks away with poise is the one who was in charge the entire time. Don't linger for others' comfort. Instead, move when it's right for you. This refusal to anchor yourself to others' expectations strengthens your aura of authority. Finally, all these behavioral changes boil down to one core truth: respect is not given freely, nor is it simply earned by achievements alone. It's assumed through consistent posture, mystery, emotional mastery, and strategic presence. When you stop trying to be understood by everyone, and accept that being misunderstood is sometimes the price of respect, you tap into a deeper power. Mystery creates intrigue. It forces others to pay attention, to speculate, and ultimately, to respect you. I once knew a mentor who rarely explained himself. He spoke in brief, powerful statements and never chased validation. People around him often wondered what he was thinking or planning, and that curiosity gave him immense influence. He wasn't loud or aggressive. He simply carried himself like someone who knew something others didn't. And that made people listen. In the end, reclaiming respect means more than changing how others treat you. It means transforming how you treat yourself. It requires refusing to trade your dignity for comfort or validation, learning to move with calm certainty, and embodying the quiet rules of presence Machiavelli lived by. When these behaviors become your baseline, people won't just respect you. They'll adjust their entire behavior around you, without you ever needing to ask. Respect is a concept often misunderstood. Many believe respect is something others simply give to you freely, or that it's earned only through grand achievements and loud declarations. But the truth is far more nuanced and far more powerful. Respect is not a gift handed over lightly. It is a force you command silently through how you carry yourself, how you manage your presence, and how you shape others' perceptions without uttering a word. From everything we've explored, one clear lesson emerges: respect is less about what you say and more about who you are, the energy you project, the mystery you maintain, and the control you exercise over your own reactions. It begins with the refusal to chase approval or validation from others. When you stop trying to be understood by everyone, you stop diluting your power. You accept that sometimes being misunderstood is the price you pay for commanding true authority. This might sound counterintuitive at first. After all, haven't we all been taught to explain ourselves, to clarify intentions, and to seek consensus? While that approach may work in some contexts, it often weakens your standing in any environment where respect and influence matter most. The person who tries too hard to be liked or understood risks being seen as desperate, uncertain, or ordinary. In contrast, the one who remains calm, selective in speech, and consistent in demeanor commands a presence that others instinctively respect. Another crucial insight is that respect is deeply tied to scarcity. When you are always available, always explaining, always reacting, your presence becomes commonplace, easy to overlook and take for granted. But when you cultivate strategic distance, when your time and attention become rare commodities, you increase your value in the eyes of others. People start to appreciate your presence more when it is not guaranteed. Scarcity breeds desire. It creates anticipation and gives your words and actions more weight. Emotional mastery is also central to earning and maintaining respect. The ability to stay composed in the face of provocation or challenge signals strength far more than loud rebuttals or visible frustration. Machiavelli knew that the man who is easily baited is already owned. When you respond with calm silence or measured gestures, you unsettle others. You take control of the interaction by refusing to give them the reaction they seek. This emotional resilience makes people think twice before testing your boundaries. Perhaps the most profound takeaway is that respect is ultimately about self-respect. You cannot expect others to value you if you do not value yourself. This means setting firm boundaries, saying no when necessary, and refusing to overexpose yourself. It means not settling for convenience or familiarity at the cost of your dignity. When you take yourself seriously, others have no choice but to follow suit. Imagine respect as an invisible currency. If you spend it recklessly on every request, every explanation, every moment of validation seeking, you deplete your reserves until you have little left to command attention. But if you guard it carefully, spend it selectively, and let it accumulate through measured presence and mystery, it becomes a powerful tool. Others will seek your approval, not the other way around. Your words will carry weight, your silence will create tension, and your presence will be felt before you even speak. So what does this mean for you moving forward? It means starting today to observe the subtle ways you might be leaking respect. Are you talking too much without delivering? Are you over-explaining yourself? Do you apologize when it's unnecessary? Are you rushing to fill silence or reacting emotionally to minor slights? Recognizing these behaviors is the first step toward change. Next, embrace the discipline of strategic withdrawal. Pull back from constant involvement and let your presence become something people notice because it's not guaranteed. Learn to say no without guilt. Practice silence and stillness, allowing them to speak louder than words ever could. Cultivate emotional control so that you remain steady regardless of circumstances. Speak less, but speak with authority. Leave before you overstay. Finally, carry yourself as someone who knows their own value, who understands that respect is not a favor, but a consequence of how you choose to show up in the world. When you embody this mindset, respect doesn't need to be asked for. It is assumed. People will adjust their behavior around you consciously or unconsciously because you have created an aura of authority and mystery that cannot be ignored. Remember, respect isn't about being liked, feared, or admired. It's about being considered seriously, carefully by those around you. It's about becoming the person who moves through rooms with a calm certainty, whose silence commands attention, whose words cut through noise, and whose presence shifts the energy of any space. Respect is the foundation of all influence. Without it, your ideas won't be heard, your leadership won't be followed, and your presence won't be valued. But with it, you unlock doors to opportunities, alliances, and power that others only dream of. And that journey begins with the choices you make every day about how you present yourself to the world. So choose wisely, guard your respect fiercely, build it patiently, and watch as the world starts to bend toward you, not because you demand it, but because you have earned it quietly, deliberately, and unshakably.